Today in class, we really went over the difference between creating point type and area type in Illustrator, the benefits of them, and why you would use one versus another. So for your check for understanding, you're going to make each type. So first one we're going to do is point type. To create point type, all we need to do is activate our type tool and simply click anywhere on our page. For our point type, we are going to write our name, okay? I would make your font a little larger. Your font choice, color, size is up to you. That's my point type. I can tell it's point type because I can take my selection tool, I can hold shift and resize it like it's a picture, which is beneficial. The next thing I want you to do is create area type and write out 2 sentences about how it feels to be back in remote learning for the last few weeks. So to create area type, the difference is I take my type tool, but instead of just clicking, I click and drag and make a box. I'm going to make my font a lot smaller so I can fit my 2 sentences in. I can keep it the same font or change up the font, okay? And I can tell I work with area type is because when I take my selection tool and I make this larger, I'm not making my letters larger. I'm making the area type area larger. That's the difference, right? If I make this larger, I'm making the whole font larger. Right? They both have their benefits. The main part of today is going to be recreating this flyer here. And I would highly recommend 2 things. 1, rely on point type because I'm going to want to have to rotate, resize each one of these letters. 2, use your shape tool well. Now, let's start off with the basics. I think it's beneficial to write each line of type as a point type. So for example, I'm going to take my type tool. I'm simply going to click and I'm going to write the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Now, the font you're going to have to use for this, you want a nice sans serif that has options for thickness. So I would say Myriad Pro is good, Century Gothic. If you have Helvetica on your computer, also good. Arial, any of those would work. All right. I want to set this, so I'm going to choose the type I want. I happen to have Helvetica on my computer, so I'm going to use Helvetica. The flyer is called Helvetica, but that'll be up to you. If you have it on your computer, I'm not sure. And I'm going to make all my type first because I just think that's the smart way to go. And for each layer of type, I'm going to just separate it and type everything out as point type. So I have a lot of control. Okay, so I fast forwarded to that part, but I just spent a few minutes making all my letters. Now what I want to make is all my shapes. So all these shapes are rectangles that have been manipulated. Let's make our first big rectangle, this black one. I'm going to rotate it with my regular selection tool and flip it. And I like to use the example as my option. So I'm actually going to make this another color just so you can see what I'm working with. I'm going to take the corners and try to match it up a little bit better. Now the difference is, right, this is obviously not the same shape. Now I can do 2 things. I can use the shape builder or I can take my direct selection tool, click on the corner, and drag them in. Okay, remember the direct selection tool allows you to take sections of things instead of the whole thing. And I think this is the faster way. So now I have that first shape. I'm just going to move it over to my new location and actually make the right color, which is black. I'm going to do the same thing with the other shapes, and I'm going to speed up this section as well. Right, now that I have all my shapes and all my type, it's about resizing things and arranging them. And the beneficial thing is because I made point type, I can rotate it. If I made area type, I would not be able to. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. So all I'm going to do now is like move things around and resize them. Since I bolded them the way I thought they should be bolded before, it shouldn't take me too much to kind of just rotate and see if the sizes match up. So I'm just using my regular schmegular selection tool. I can hold shift to resize so it doesn't squish my type. What you don't want to do is one of these guys, right? That does not look very good. Always hold shift even when you're resizing type. It's a good habit. And all of this is about arranging it. All right, I might have to change the color, right? This is obviously not black, it's supposed to be white, but I'm still, because it's point type, I can take it, manipulate it, resize it, really treat it like an image, which is the benefit of point type. And in an instance like this kind of flyer, this is where point type really shines. If I'm designing, let's say, a menu, I definitely want some area type instead. But a flyer, point type is definitely where to go. So we're just going to spend our time today really thinking about how to match this up so the layout we create is almost identical to the layout that's here. Good luck and make sure you use your point type.